So respiration involves two type of step: gaseous action, intake of oxygen from the atmosphere, and release CO2. This is called breathing. In breathing, two types: breathing in and breathing out. O2 taking, CO2 release. Second step, breakdown of simple food in order to release energy inside the cell. This is called cellular respiration. So, in a cell, breakdown of glucose happen. So, which step happen? So, this is given. This is happen here. You can check. Breakdown glucose by various pathway in a cell. This is happen in the cell. Where is they happen this? In the cell. To break down by various pathway. First, glucose is the chemical formula of glucose is what? C6H12O6. So in this chemical glucose, 6 carbon is there. How many carbon? 6 carbon. Okay. So in a cytoplasm, first step, glucose convert into pyruvic acid, meaning pyruvate also word used. What is pyruvate? Pyruvate is what? 3 carbon molecule. What is 3 carbon? In this pyruvate acid chemical, 3 carbon is there. And once time energy release. One time energy release. After that, in some organism without oxygen breakdown happen. Without oxygen breakdown of glucose happen in some organism. So this is called absence of oxygen. This respiration is called absence of oxygen, and this is in particular scientific language, this is called anaerobic. Anaerobic respiration. When pyruvic acid breakdown, pyruvate acid breakdown, so this pyruvate acid convert into ethanol plus carbon dioxide plus energy. Anaerobic. This is called what? Anaerobic respiration. Second one. So this part was anaerobic. Now green color part, these two are in a human or other living organism. This is happen. So here presence of oxygen suppose happen, upper side is given presence of oxygen in mitochondria. Where is they happen this process? In mitochondria. This is a part of cell, one part of the cell. In mitochondria, presence of oxygen, we take breathe in oxygen, this oxygen going in a cell, this oxygen help you break down the glucose. So this in mitochondria, using the oxygen, pyruvic acid convert into CO2, meaning release CO2 gas, plus water and plus energy. Like again energy release. Again energy release. But when you doing some extra work in a gym, like in a school, given extra punishment, suppose 100 sit-up or 200 sit-up, anything they're given, then what happen? After 1 or 2 days, your legs are feeling pain, right? Yeah. Like sponge coming like that happen. You can say like that time like some small right? One type of headache, something will happen in like, right? So this is like one type of condition that you can't walk properly, like that happen. So why this is happen? In our body, regular oxygen getting, so no any problem. But when you do continue exercise, like that, any punishment, in this case, in our muscles only, in our muscles, what happened? In a fast work, you can't get oxygen requirement, not fulfill of oxygen requirement. They require so much, right? Millions of oxygen molecules, but they didn't get. But for working, the muscles require energy. So that time in a muscle, what happened? In absence of oxygen, this pyruvate acid convert into lactic acid. What? Convert into lactic acid and energy release. And energy release. So this is a presence of oxygen. This is called aerobic respiration. What you say? Aerobic respiration. Okay, beta. And in this lactic acid, right? This is the reason of pain in your leg when you do work then. 2-3 days, right? But when slowly, when you get oxygen in that part, lactic acid, when the release, that time get oxygen touch with lactic acid. So now this lactic acid convert into CO2 and H2O then after. But up to there, you are feeling pain in the leg. You can't walk properly. Okay. So first step in a respiration in a cell, meaning glucose breakdown into simplest form. Glucose is 6 carbon molecule. First step, 6 carbon molecule in cytoplasm convert into pyruvic acid. You can say in book writing pyruvate acid also. Then after 3 part is there. Red color part aromatic, absent of oxygen. In some organic like yeast, without oxygen they are doing respiration, meaning broke down the glucose. So that's why in a yeast alcohol happen, right? That's why I say this is atho coming, like that happen na fermentation.
Yes.
Right? So why coming this? Because ethanol happen. They convert pyruvic acid into ethanol plus CO2 and energy. But in a presence of oxygen happen respiration, that is called aerobic, CO2 release, water release plus energy. Third point, in a muscle, sometime oxygen not get, that time for energy, break down the glucose. So pyruvic acid converting to lactic acid. Okay, sure. Now the difference of the aerobic and anaerobic given take place in the presence of oxygen. First is what? Take place, meaning aerobic respiration happen only present in oxygen. Then this is what you say, present opposite word is what? Absence. So take place in the absence of oxygen. Occurs in mitochondria. Occurs in mitochondria. Here, anaerobic occurs in cytoplasm. Okay, both are, meaning first pyruvate and both. Their end product in aerobic, CO2 and H2O. CO2 and H2O, meaning carbon dioxide and water is end product. In a anaerobic, in a one case alcohol, ethanol meaning what? One type of alcohol. And in another case, you get lactic acid, meaning these two products get in anaerobic respiration. In a aerobic, more amount of energy release. More meaning more practice compared to anaerobic. Compared to anaerobic. So compared to this, you can say compared to aerobic, in a less amount of energy is released. Understood, beta? In a plant, also respiration happen, beta. In a plant, also respiration happen. So since the aerobic depend on the oxygen, aerobic organism need to ensure that sufficient intake of oxygen. Sufficient oxygen not take, then not happen aerobic. We have seen plant exchange gases through stomata, and the large intercircular species ensure that all the cells are in contact with air, meaning other cells of the plant directly contact with air. Carbon dioxide and oxygen are accessed by diffusion here. So in a plant, those cells are not take oxygen, take out carbon dioxide and release, meaning other than leaf, like a stem, right, a root, they are directly joined with the what? Connect with the what? Air. So using the diffusion, they are taking oxygen and release the CO2, other part of the plant. Okay, beta?
Yeah.
So in a plant, respiration happen using which method? Diffusion method. Diffusion meaning what? Bigger side to smaller side movement. This is called diffusion. In simple language, we can say like that. So that happen. Cells away from them out into air. The direction of diffusion depend upon the environmental condition and the
Yeah.
requirement of the plant, right? Environmental condition and
Requirements of
requirement of the plant. At the night, when there is no photosynthesis occurring, carbon dioxide elimination is the major excess activity going on. During the day, CO2 generated during respiration used up for photosynthesis. Hence,
and
there is no CO2 release. Instead, oxygen release is the major event at this time. But in a night, taken oxygen and CO2 release. Animal have involved different organs for uptake the oxygen from the environment and getting rid of the carbon dioxide produced. Terrestrial animals can breathe the oxygen in the atmosphere, but animals that live in a water, meaning terrestrial meaning the animal, right, stay in a earth, right, in a soil, they are breathe oxygen from the atmosphere, but animals that live in a water need use the oxygen dissolved in water, meaning fish use the water, which type of water? Dissolved water, dissolved in oxygen, dissolved in water, that oxygen they use. So we know that's why in an aquarium, one type of pump put up and like bubble going. So what is the work of this pump? The work of this pump is what? The atmosphere oxygen released in the water. So out of that, some oxygen dissolved in a water, and this water used by the fish in a aquarium, beta. Since amount of dissolved oxygen is
really low compared
compared to the amount of oxygen in the air, the rate of breathing in aquatic organism is most faster than seen in terrestrial organism. Meaning 1 mark question, this is important. In an aquatic organism is much faster breathing compared to terrestrial organism. Okay, in a water animal and earth animal, which is the faster breathing? Water animal. Fishes take in a water to their mouth. Fishes take water through their mouth, and this water force it past the gills. What the part? Gills. Like in a human, the lungs is there. Similarly, in a fish, what is there? Gills, where the dissolved oxygen is taken up the blood. So in a gills, what happen? Water, in a water, dissolved oxygen is there. This oxygen is taken by the blood. In which part? In which organ? Gills. In which? Fish beta, aquatic. But in a terrestrial organism, use the oxygen in the atmosphere for respiration, because we know already oxygen in atmosphere. The oxygen is absorbed by different organ in different animal. So different animal have different organs. All the organs have structure that increase the surface area which is in contact with oxygen rich atmosphere. So in any organism, this structure is what type of structure here, beta? They increase the surface area to touch the atmosphere, and that's the reason they get maximum oxygen. Since the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide has to take place across this surface. This surface is very fine and delicate. So this surface is designed for what only? Particular for exchange of gases. Meaning their work is what only? O2 taken, CO2 released. Their work is what, paper? This surface work is what? O2 taken, CO2 released. In order to protect this surface, it is usually placed within the body. So we know our lungs, where is beta? In our chest cavity, meaning inside the body. So protection of these organs, this is given in our body. So there have to passage, they will take air to this area. In addition, there is a mechanism for moving the air in out of this area where the oxygen is absorbed. Meaning here mechanism, meaning what? Property of given, in that oxygen taking process properly given, absorbed process is given. Okay, understood beta?